It was just past dawn when I stepped onto the polished stone walkway of our corporate headquarters. The sky was painted in soft shades of orange and pink, and the stillness of the morning was only broken by the occasional chirp of a distant bird or the faint hum of security lights turning off. I wasn't expected for another few hours, and I preferred it that way. After all, I was there for an unannounced executive walkthrough. As the newly minted Senior Regional Director of Operations, I'd made it a habit to drop by the various branches under my jurisdiction without prior notice. It wasn't about catching people off guard. It was about seeing the truth behind the polish, how a place truly operated when no one thought they were being watched. I dressed down intentionally for this visit. No tailored suits or polished leather shoes. Just a pair of khakis, a dark polo shirt, sneakers, and a visitor badge clipped loosely to my belt. My name wasn't printed in bold, and there was no retinue to herald my arrival. I looked like any other external consultant, maybe a tech contractor here for a facility check. That was exactly the point. As I strolled through the lobby, I took in the atmosphere. The lighting was bright and clinical, the reception area decorated with minimalistic corporate art and the faint scent of fresh coffee wafting in from somewhere behind a frosted glass door. And there she was, Karen. She stood tall behind the reception desk, clipboard in one hand, a walkie-talkie in the other, eyes sharp and scanning. She looked like she had appointed herself as guardian of the gates, her heels clicking authoritatively on the tiled floor as she barked orders at a couple of junior employees who looked more nervous than attentive. As I crossed the threshold into the lobby, I offered her a polite nod and a smile. Her expression didn't change. If anything, she squinted as if trying to identify a potential threat. "Excuse me." Her voice rang out like a drill sergeant's call. I stopped and turned to her. "Yes?" I asked, still smiling. "Where are you headed?" "Just taking a walk around. Observing." "You can't wander here without proper clearance," she snapped, eyes locking onto the visitor badge clipped to my belt. I held it up casually. "I've got clearance." She took a step forward, squinting at the badge with evident disapproval. "This doesn't tell me who you are." "I'm here for the regional review," I said, hoping the word review might jog her memory. The entire management team had been briefed about this visit, albeit without names. But Karen, apparently, had decided that gatekeeping was a more noble pursuit than reading memos. "I need to see your government-issued ID," she demanded, planting herself squarely in front of me. "And I need to verify who approved your visit. We've had too many people trying to sneak in for interviews and audits." I blinked at her, my patience tested but still intact. "And if I don't show you? Then you'll be escorted out," she said matter-of-factly, bringing the walkie-talkie to her mouth. "Security to front desk. Possible intruder." I exhaled, calm but disappointed. Anyone at mid-level or above in this building had received not one but 3 emails about today's audit. The title was always included, Senior Regional Director of Operations. Not a name, just a title. She had the chance to make a good impression. Or at least a neutral one. But Karen had already made up her mind about who I could be, or rather, who I couldn't be. Moments later, 2 security officers appeared. They looked from Karen to me, eyes scanning the badge on my hip and then the tablet I held. The lock screen glowed faintly. "Daniels, Senior Regional Director." One of the guards leaned in toward Karen. "Ma'am, I think you might want to double-check." "I don't care what department he says he's from," Karen barked, cutting him off. "Everyone follows protocol. No ID, no entry." I chuckled quietly. "Tell you what. Why don't we call your supervisor? I'd love to have a quick word with them anyway." Her eyes lit up with vindication. "Oh, you will. HR is going to hear about this stunt." And then, almost like a scene out of a sitcom, her direct supervisor, Mr. Lam, came hustling down the hallway, red-faced and clearly out of breath. "Mr. Daniels? We weren't expecting you until later," he exclaimed. Karen's head whipped around so fast I was afraid she might pull a muscle. "Mr. Daniels?" she repeated, the certainty gone from her voice. I extended my hand, calm and professional. "Nice to finally meet you, Mr. Lam. And you must be Karen, right?" She nodded slowly, her posture shrinking as the realization set in. "I believe we just had an enlightening conversation about protocol." Mr. Lam looked horrified. I'll handle this immediately." "Please do. I make it a point to evaluate more than just numbers. I'm here to understand the culture, the respect, and the consistency we expect to foster in every branch." Karen tried to form an apology, her lips parting with the start of a sentence that never quite made it out. I raised a hand gently. "No need. I appreciate consistency. Just make sure that consistency includes basic respect. Especially when you don't know who you're talking to." From that moment on, I wasn't alone. Word of who I was spread quickly, and suddenly I was accompanied by an entourage of department heads, each tripping over themselves to offer explanations, tours, and performance charts. Karen? She returned to her desk, noticeably quieter. Her once commanding posture was now hunched over a monitor, eyes fixed on the screen, clipboard untouched by her side. She didn't look up for the rest of the morning. By the afternoon, I had met with HR and the regional VP behind closed doors. Karen wasn't fired. Terminations require a pattern, not a single incident. But she was reassigned to a non-customer-facing role and enrolled in mandatory leadership training. It wasn't just me she had been rude to. My inbox had already begun filling with quiet messages from other employees sharing their own Karen encounters. She had built a fortress around herself, wielding her clipboard and walkie-talkie like weapons, enforcing protocol but forgetting professionalism. The irony of it all was almost poetic. In trying to enforce the rules so rigidly, she broke the one that mattered most, treating people with dignity. Because she hadn't recognized me, she assumed I wasn't important. But titles don't give people worth. Respect does. And in the end, it wasn't a badge or a tablet that reminded her of that truth. It was the person she tried to turn away, the one who ended up being her boss's boss.